Hello clowns, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be reacting to some unpopular K-pop opinions from the Unpopular K-pop Opinions subreddit. Disclaimer that everything that I have to say is obviously just my own personal opinion. You are welcome to disagree with me and feel free to leave a comment with your thoughts down below. Just please try to remain respectful towards me, the original posters, and any other commenters. In the end it's just K-pop and there's really no need to get as heated as some people do. Also, since most of the posts are quite long, I won't be reading the whole thing, but I will put a screenshot up if you would like to follow along. Now let's get started. The first two opinions I am going to group together because I kind of have similar thoughts on both of them. The first one is that Kai from EXO's facial expressions are cringy and come off as forced, and the second is that 80s is so overdoes it during group performances. I see critiques of being too much or cringy thrown at 80s as a whole, Kai, and a lot of other artists who are known to be very expressive on stage. In my opinion, it's because these artists are stage performers, not screen performers. Dancing for a live audience is very different than for a camera. In front of a live audience, a lot of performers who overdo it are much more captivating. I can see where this person is coming from, especially if they've only seen them on music show performances, but I don't think it's a fair criticism. Personally, Kai and Sona are some of my favorite dancers because of how exaggerated they are. It makes them more interesting to watch. Opinion number 3. It bothers me that SHINee talk about how not close they were. You can pause to read this person's full post, but the title sums it up pretty well. It's clear to me that they are not familiar with SHINee at all, and I've misinterpreted what they've said over the years. It's true that SHINee have talked about how they didn't get along at the beginning, especially Minyu and Key. They don't hide the fact that they were brought together by SM to work. SHINee debuted really young and basically grew up together. If you shove 5 teenage boys with completely different personalities into a dorm room and tell them to get along, it's not all going to be sunshine and rainbows, but it's very clear how much love and support they have for each other, especially when they've been through so much as a group. I think a lot of people don't realize that it really wasn't easy for them even before 2017. The fact of the matter is that they wouldn't have lasted this long if they weren't close, and the fact that they don't try and push the overly manufactured best friends image that some groups have doesn't take away from their love for each other. Unpopular opinion: Irene's attitude scandal never should have happened. This is another one that I half agree with. I do think that the stylist was owed an apology, and Irene shouldn't have been rude in the first place, but I also agree that it isn't necessarily something that needed to be made public. I get that trying to contact SM through the employer probably wouldn't have ended up with Irene apologizing since there would have been no public pressure on the company to address it. But I still feel like this was an isolated private incident that could have stayed private. Everyone can be bitches sometimes, especially when they're tired or stressed. That doesn't make it okay, but idols are human too, and sometimes they're going to have bad days and make mistakes. The next unpopular opinion: girl groups shouldn't cover boy group dances. The post uses Luna's cover of Cherry Bomb by NCT 127 as an example. This is another one I'm going to have to strongly disagree with. First of all, usually a cover of a song won't be better than the original whether it's done by a boy group or a girl group. This especially applies to a group like NCT in my opinion. Their style is really unique and I think it's extremely difficult to replicate that. The op's reasoning was that girl groups just can't emulate masculinity, and Cherry Bomb is a very masculine choreo. Honestly, I really just think this reasoning is misogynistic. As an N-citizen, Luna's cover is probably one of my favorite NCT covers out there. They still had a ton of power. It just obviously wasn't quite as clean and sharp because they definitely didn't spend as much time learning it as NCT did. I also find it interesting how they said that boy groups only ever cover girl group songs for comedic effect when that isn't true at all. Most girl group stans I know find the comedic ones disrespectful. There are plenty of respectful, well-done girl group covers out there, and the guys can emulate femininity just as much as the girls can emulate masculinity. This opinion is one we've all heard before. Chanyeol is a terrible rapper. I think the phrasing of this post is unnecessarily harsh, but I'll be the first one to admit that Chanyeol isn't the strongest rapper in the industry. SM isn't exactly known for having great rappers, and a lot of the time the raps in their songs can feel unnecessary, which is sometimes true in the case of EXO. However, Chanyeol honestly has some verses that I do really enjoy listening to, even if on a technical level they're not that great. I won't pretend to be some kind of expert when it comes to rap, but if something is enjoyable to listen to, I'm not going to complain. For example, I personally think the rap verse in Tempo slaps. That being said, I do prefer when EXO is more vocally based. Chanyeol has a really unique, really good singing voice, and in a lot of other groups he could probably qualify for a main vocal position. I listen to his cover of Creep religiously. I do wish he got more singing lines as opposed to rap ones. Opinion number 8. Knock Knock is Twice's best song. I don't have nearly as much to say for this one since this is very subjective, but Knock Knock is easily my least favorite Twice title track, and I was just very surprised to see this opinion while scrolling through the subreddit. I guess since it's supposed to be for controversial opinions I shouldn't be too surprised. Obviously everyone has very different music tastes, but if you ask me, there's a reason why this opinion is so unpopular. I don't think it's the worst song I've ever heard or anything, but I was just so genuinely shocked that someone called Knock Knock their best song that I had to include it in the video. Opinion number 9. NCT Dream is the least talented SM group. Boy, do I have a lot to say about this one. The post basically says that despite having good music, they have the weakest main vocal line of any SM group, mediocre rappers, and an unimpressive dance line. First of all, in regards to the vocal line, Heejin is easily in my top 5 NCT vocalists. He has skill and a very unique tone that easily makes his voice stand out. Rinjun and Chunla also have pleasant tones and decent technique. Personally I prefer Rinjun's voice, but I definitely appreciate Chunla, especially with how incredibly stable his lead vocals are. As for their rap line, Mark is easily one of the best if not the best rappers in the entire company. He's one of the only rappers under SM who can actually rap. I'd say Gino and Jimin are about average by SM rapper standards, but both make up for it with their incredible stage presence. This is where the group as a whole stands out to me. They have some NCT's most difficult choreographies but are always very clean and synchronized. Every single member is a very good dancer, with Jisung standing out the most. He's one of NCT's best dancers, along with Ten and Taeyong. Their performances are never lacking, and every single member is so fun to watch on stage. That's not even mentioning the fact that most if not all the members have participated in writing lyrics before, or pointing out how young they still are. Point is, SM doesn't debut people who don't have talent. Opinion number 10 and our final opinion for today. Calling idols by their real names is weird. This obviously only applies to idols that use a stage name, and the post clarified that they didn't mean idols who have said that they're more comfortable being called their real name. They also said that part of the reason that they felt this way was that hearing people mispronounce names made them cringe as an Asian person. I can totally understand the reasoning for the last part. I feel like if you're going to use their real names you might as well learn how to pronounce it correctly. However, I don't really think that calling idols by their real name is weird unless they specifically ask people not to. Plenty of idols also refer to themselves or their members by their real names when they are doing performances or variety content, which I feel like they wouldn't do if they were uncomfortable. That is all I have for you today. Feel free to comment your own thoughts on these opinions down below. I'll see you in my next video, which will mostly likely be the final part of my guide to NCT. Also, I started using a new editor and tried to do things a little differently. Do we like it? Let me know. As always, thank you so much for watching, and have a lovely day.